Welcome back to the newest series on the channel, where we dive deep into the spine-chilling worlds of survival horror games and their kills. In the latest episode, we tackled Outlast, so I thought we'll tackle its predecessor, Outlast 2. Outlast 2 isn't just a horror game, it's a nightmare that drags you deeper into its madness with every step. What's real and what's a hallucination? How does Blake's darkest secrets tie into the horrors of Temple Gate? Let's uncover the terrifying truth lurking in the shadows.
Have a soup pie, have a soup pie.
The game begins with Blake Langermann, a cameraman and the biggest loser in Outlast history. He is the husband of Lynn Langermann, an investigative journalist. Blake wakes up from a nightmare involving a young girl calling out his name and crying for help.
He's coming.
He mentions the dream was about Jessica Gray, an old school friend he and Lynn haven't thought about or spoken about in years. The conversation quickly shifts to the reason they're aboard the helicopter, investigating the case of a young pregnant girl known as Jane Doe, who was discovered by the roadside and later committed suicide in the hospital. As they record their intro, a sudden loud noise and a blinding light interrupts them, causing the helicopter to crash into the wilderness below. Blake wakes up in a school and begins following a tall man down the hallway. As he reaches the door, he turns around and sees a short girl standing behind him with a massive wave of blood rushing towards him. Blake then drifts in and out of consciousness, finding himself on a mountain. Having been thrown from the helicopter during the crash, he makes his way down to the wreckage, only to find no sign of Lynn. It seems she has finally left him. She's realized what sort of a loser Blake is. Though Blake is fortunate to have been rejected from the helicopter, otherwise he would end up like the pilot, skinned alive and nailed to the cross. Adding insult to injury, the poor pilot is noticeably lacking in the physical endowment. He has the smallest wee-wee I've ever seen. Still bigger than Blake's, by the way. If you don't want to end up like Blake or this poor pilot, make sure to hit that like, subscribe, follow the Twitch, and join the Discord, top comment on the video. Blake then makes his way to an abandoned village. In the distance, he spots a bald, fat, obese, disgusting man. But as Blake sees him, he runs away. I can't blame him. When Blake turns around, he sees another bald, heavy-set figure lurking in the shadows. As Blake squeezes under a fence, he hears a distant whisper that grows louder and closer. Suddenly, a tall woman charges at him, but he manages to just outrun her. He enters the barn while crawling through the space. The floor collapses under his immense weight. He finds himself face to face with none other than Mama Marta.
Oh, Jesus! Oh.
Then you'll have.
Let's meet Marta. She's a towering enforcer for Papa North's cult. Armed with a deadly scythe, she's fanatically devoted to hunting down anyone deemed a threat to the apocalyptic prophecy. Her haunting figure and relentless pursuit make her a nightmare. She believes it's her divine mission to root out evil and serves as the cult's executioner without hesitation. Marta symbolizes the dangers of blind faith and religious extremism, embodying the terrifying lengths people will go to in service of their beliefs. Terrifying, relentless, unforgettable, tall with a big rack. That's Mama Marta. As we approach the church, we hear a man preaching about Lynn. As we enter the church, we see a photo of Papa North. God damn, he's humongous. He's pushing at least a ton. He's bigger than Piggy himself. We pick up a key and crawl through the small gap. Blake then hears Lynn screaming, "Get off me!" As we peep through, there is a bunch of men surrounding Lynn, pick her up, and she's very distressed. Now hear me out on Lynn. Hear me out real quick. She's got it going on. She says her stomach hurts. Blake wonders, did she just get a train run on her? I don't blame her. Have you seen Blake? Have you seen him? Here is the background on the cultists. The cultists are followers of Papa North, a fanatical backbone of the testament of the new Ezekiel. Living in a secluded, desolate village, they've devoted their lives to North's twisted apocalyptic prophecy. They believe it's their sacred mission to prevent the birth of the anarchists, leading the horrific acts of violence and sacrifice. Driven by fear and blind faith, the cultists are ruthless. They hunt outsiders like Blake and Lynn, seeing them as tools of the devil. Their grotesque rituals and unyielding loyalty to North make them a terrifying force. The cultists are a chilling representation of what happens when faith turns into fanaticism. Out of nowhere, Blake and Lynn get cornered by a group called the cultists. While the cultists are capturing them, they are ambushed by another group who kill the cultists. Are they here to save Blake and Lynn? No. They're called the heretics, led by the mysterious Val. Val, in all her unsettling glory, tries to dominate Blake. Of course, Blake secretly loves being dominated. However, as she hops off, Blake gets punched in the face for good measure as the heretics take off with Lynn. As Blake enters a nearby room, he's suddenly blinded by the same bright white light that knocked the chopper out of the sky earlier. When the light fades, he finds himself in a school, the same one from the intro. On the chalkboard, he noticed a cryptic letter addressed from Jessica. Picking up a photo of the trio from school, Blake begins to walk down an ominous hallway. Suddenly, he sees a man-like monster rushing towards him before vanishing into thin air. Weird and unsettling, to say the least. Blake falls unconscious and awakens to a hideous old man standing over him. The man introduces himself as Ethan and explains that he's considered as an outsider. Having been excommunicated from his cult, his exile was due to his refusal to give his daughter, Anna, to Papa North, who intended to rape and impregnate her, and then kill the child afterwards. Blake, realizing that Ethan's daughter is Jane Doe they came to investigate, Ethan reveals that he helped Anna escape, and Ethan asks, is she okay? Wanting to spare him any pain of the truth, Blake lies, saying she is still alive even though she isn't. Ethan offers Blake a place to rest, escorting him to the basement to lie down. However, Blake is soon awoken by the sound of Marta's voice yelling. Looking up, he sees Ethan being dragged by Mama Marta. She demands to know where Blake is, mocking him as the cuck. Ethan refuses to give Blake up, and Marta savagely kills him in cold, ruthless blood. Blake emerges to find Ethan's lifeless body, but you know what time it is? Time to get our get back. Blake goes zip, unzips his pants, and goes to town. It's the only action that Blake has gotten in over 3 months. Blake encounters a villager clearly holding onto that thin, balding hairline. Seriously, just go full bald already. Moving on, Blake opens up the barn door and spots 2 men with flashlights. He quickly hides, waiting for them to leave. Once the coast is clear, he pulls a chain, which brings down a disfigured body. Is it human? Maybe. Balancing on a beam, Blake witnesses one of the men pushing the body into him, causing him to fall into a pile of horse guts, all up in them guts. Disgusting. To progress, Blake must restart the generators to power a lift. While exploring, he finds a burnt, naked man strapped to a tree. Poor guy. After restarting the generators, Blake turns around and gets greeted by an old witch who jump scares him and nearly made him dookie his drawers. As he exits, all the villagers scatter, running for cover. What could be the reason? None other than Mama Marta, sprinting at full speed. Luckily, Blake the loser manages to outrun her and makes it to the lift. I don't know how he does that, he has no stamina. Suddenly, a giant tongue grabs Blake and drags him down the well. Transitioning back to the eerie school. Inside a locker, he finds a flashing music box. After interacting with it, he discovers a letter. The girl from the letter appears, urging him to follow her. When Blake does, he stumbles upon her hanging body, a truly horrific sight. As he approaches, the big tongue returns and scoops her up. Blake opens the door, only to find a half-eaten corpse. Judging by the scene, it seems like some fat, disgusting, bald, old fossil is responsible. The man comes out and attacks Blake, shoving him down the stairs, triggering a frenetic chase. Blake locks him out of the room and crawls under the house, narrowly escaping a group of villagers trying to harm him. After pushing through another door, it collapses, forcing him to hide under a bed. Once the coast is clear, Blake locks the door, but the man breaks in just as Blake escapes. Finally, Blake stumbles upon a woman tied to a bed, surrounded by buckets of dookie and piss. Maybe I could fix her. Tell me in the comment section, can I fix her? Oh my goodness, I'm down bad, but hear me out, man. As Blake pushes the cart to clear his path, he's interrupted by Marta, who stops at the gate and eerily whispers, "Pray with me." Jumping over the obstacle, Blake sees an old woman praying frenetically to Jesus on the cross. To climb over the next wall, Blake must push the cart again, but as he tries, here comes Mama Marta, bearing down on him with her terrifying presence. Luckily, she doesn't stick around and clap Blake's booty cheeks once again. You know he loves it. Easy dodge, martyr, no booty for you. Blake eventually comes across a church and enters, only to find a grotesque, predatory figure of Papa North inside. He finds a man named Josiah strapped to a wheel, his eyes gouged out, and the word Judas carved into his chest. Josiah pleads with Blake to kill him, knowing the cultist plans to torture his wife Mary and to force him to reveal Lynn's location. Before Blake can act, the whale-sized Noth and his cultists arrive. They bring Mary into the church and begin questioning her. Desperate to protect her, Josiah cracks underneath the pressure and reveals that the heretics have taken Lynn into the mines. Noth, unimpressed, orders the brutal execution of Mary, stretching her limbs until they are ripped off in a horrific sight. It's gruesome as it is shocking. Though you may have noticed in the chaos, you can see her big, voluptuous titties, like the motorboat them babies. The cultists then turn their wrath on Josiah, killing him as well. The man never had a chance, but them titties though. Blake finds himself cornered by Marta yet again, stomping around like she owns the place. Seriously, take a break, lady. Once she finally leaves, Blake creeps into the barn, only to find it stuffed with animal remains. Is this slaughterhouse or Noth's midnight snack room? Either way, it's absolutely disgusting. Blake quickly pulls the hook to exit, but of course here comes Mama Marta, storming in like a freight train. Blake barely pulls the chain in time and slides underneath the door, giving Marta a boot to the face on the way out. Not today, Marta. Better luck next time. Unless you're into that, baby. Back at the school, Blake's running through the world's creepiest hallway with the big tongued monster. It grabs him, lights up the hole, and sends Blake scrambling to escape in the typical school trauma. Back in the real world, Blake makes his way towards the mines, but first has to deal with the Scold. A lovely group of mountain-dwelling folks who definitely aren't on the Christmas card list. Attempting to cross the rickety bridge, Blake is rudely interrupted by a swarm of locusts, because of course that's his luck, as he plummets to the ground below. When he comes to, he spots a woman taking an absolute steamer. Imagine bathing in that water, it's absolutely foul. Oh shit, I forgot he was there. My chest hurts, oh my god. I haven't been jump scared in the game in I don't know how long. That got me. I was in my own... Oh my... Trying to climb back up, another scale boots him in the right back down, sending him into the path of a giant man with a mini-me on his back. The dynamic duo ain't messing around. The little guy armed with what seems to be aimbot fires an arrow straight into Blake's back. Nearly dead, but still kicking, Blake shimmy, yeah, shimmy, back into the school's nightmares. In this school sequence, Blake follows Jessica into a room where a computer screen displays a cryptic message. Just a typical Monday. Back to reality, Blake gets caught by the dynamic duo Laird and Nick. Nick, perched like a backpack, announces to Blake that he's the scaled messiah. Grabbing his camera, Laird declares no modern messiah uses the dusty old book. It's all about the camera. The next thing Blake knows, he's nailed to a cross and straight over what it looks like a medieval torture. When he wakes up, he pulls his hands free, leaving behind a gaping wounds in his hands. Seriously though, those hands, you know what I'm saying, you could probably do a lot with it. Now you got a little bit more, you know. Maybe the hands are his best friend now. Blake slaps on some bandages, though honestly this might be the job of a miracle because gauze is not going to cut it. As Blake presses on, getting chased by Nick and Laird, he tumbles down into a river. The duo starts hunting him down with flashlights. So Blake pulls the ultimate stealth move, hiding underneath the water, praying they don't spot him. Once they leave, he grabs his camera, only to be yanked back into the nightmare of the school again. Blake can't catch a break, not that he deserves one. Blake picks up the phone, only to hear a creepy voice on the other side.
The taste of her kiss when you felt her neck break, you diseased cocksucker.
As a huge tongue wraps around Blake's neck, and of course he moans in strange pleasure because you know he loves it. What an absolute weirdo. Following Jessica into a locker, we are transitioned back to the present time. Blake steps out of the door to see the two idiots shooting flame arrows at him. Blake quickly runs to the cabin, locks all the doors, and waits till they bust in. Only way to escape, the only way to escape again. Honestly, this section was such a pain when I tried to do Energizer for the first time on Outlast 2. I died 50 times in a row during my 3-month stream streak on YouTube. It got me demonetized, it got me shadow banned, I'm still fighting it to this day, so if you guys could quickly leave a like on the video and hit that subscribe button, it'll be greatly appreciated. Thank you guys for making it this far in the video. The game can also be brutal, but we're going to dive deeper into that at the end. We're going to have a big discussion at the end of the video on why this game doesn't live up to the original. As Blake escapes, he falls into the barbed wire fence, where the villagers grab him and bury him alive, forcing to complete the gospel and record his resurrection. After busting out, completing the gospel and carrying on, Blake reaches a rope, he breaks the branch, grabs the rope, and begins climbing down. Then out of nowhere, Nick and Laird try to pull him back in to capture him. But then they get pushed off of the edge by the Scaled out of nowhere, killing them in the most glorious fashion I've ever seen. We record them. Wow, look at them, they're disgusting, filthy animals. Seriously though, they are probably the worst characters in Outlast. There's nothing redeemable about that fraudulent scum. Now for the background on Nick and Laird. Nick and Laird are two unsettling figures who inhabit the depths of the Scaled territory, a dark and twisted duo whose roles are disturbing as their presence. Nick, the larger of the two, is an opposing figure, but his twisted connection with Laird is what makes them more terrifying. Laird is a small, deformed man, but is way less dangerous. Nick carries Laird on his back like a grotesque puppet, and the two are a nightmarish pair, always seen together as they hunt down their victims. The disturbing bond goes beyond just their partnership. Laird, often perched on Nick's back, acts as the manipulator, controlling their actions and decisions. Despite Laird's small, frail appearance, he possesses an eerie intelligence, while Nick acts as the muscle. Together they prey on those who wander into their domain, with Laird guiding Nick to track down and capture their prey. Laird even takes control of Nick's speech, often taunting and mocking their victims in an unsettling way. The Scale believe Nick and Laird are the manifestation of the twisted kind of Messiah, an embodiment of survival and dominance, harshest of conditions. Their terrifying ability to hunt and kill without remorse makes them feared even among the other Scales. The two are just not hunters, they're symbols of the Scales' brutal hierarchy. Always watching, always hunting, and always seeking new victims for their sadistic games. Back in the school, we check out the menu, pick up a piece of paper. Suddenly the walls start emitting light, pulling Blake in to see where Jessica is once again. We have to chase her around through the pitch darkness, using nothing but our camera's microphone to guide us. After what feels like an eternity, we finally find her hanging once again. Is this a foreshadow? Blake continues until he reaches the lake. Out of nowhere, a wave hits and swallows Blake up and the raft, throwing him into the water. The monster grabs him and transitions back to the school's pool. Blake must turn around quickly because the big licker, he's about to grab him. But as he reaches the hallway, it starts raining blood. It starts raining blood. Hallelujah, it's raining blood. Why I'm slipping and sliding in your girls' DMs, baby. Any girls out there, I'm slipping in them DMs, you know what I mean? Hit me up. Blake slides right into a deranged man banging down a door. He just barely outruns him to escape. We get another flashback back to the school once again, where we see a dozen hanging bodies that look like Jessica. This leads us back to the library, where a scary monster is still awaiting Blake. Who is this monster? He quickly hides down the book aisle as the monster starts hitting the Millie Rock. You know, that's the throwback right there. Look at him hitting that Millie Rock, baby. Blake quickly jukes him around the bookshelf and gets grabbed by the heretics once again. Transition to Blake holding Jessica's head. We're greeted by the monster once again. We finally figure out who this monster is. We slide right into the underground, baby, where the heretics are waiting. We crawl through just to lock them away, hopefully forever. Blake just barely survives and makes it to the elevator, heading to the mines to save Lynn. But wait, why is there a butt booty naked man with a very small dangling? Like, that thing is absolutely like, what, 1 inch? Might as well have an Audi. You know, like, I don't know what I'm saying. He chases Blake butt naked. Blake's running for his life. I don't know, Blake probably likes this, but seriously, bro, put that Tic Tac away. Like, it's, who are you trying to freshen my breath? Like, get out of here. As soon as he leaves, Blake speeds up and gets out of there, never looking back. Then, Val captures Blake in the mines completely booty butt naked. It's a horrific sight. Like, this is disgusting. But you can tell Blake is very enthusiastic when she's pinning him down. She lets go and picks up her crown, thinking she's the queen. She's the queen of the stunk. You know, she stinks, man. Lucky for us, the mines start caving in and Blake barely escapes. But not for long, run into them once again. The heretics grab him, drug him, and drag him into the ultimate orgy party, where we see Lynn tied up on a sex swing and watching what's unfolding. As Val hops onto Blake to sexually assault him, it's clear no one wants this creepy, disgusting, grotesque queen riding them. Val, you make me sick. Maybe Blake is enjoying this, by the way, because, you know, he's a loser. But the most disgusting, vile transition in gaming history happens as Val moves off of Blake, only to show Jessica, a little schoolgirl, trying to kiss Blake while pinning him down. Even though Blake doesn't want it, it's sick, but hey, that's Outlast for you. The Outlast dev, whoever thought of that in their mind, needs to go have a good hard look at themselves. That's disgusting, man. As Blake and Jessica leave the kitchen, they're cornered by a priest called Father Loudermilch, who accuses them of being up to no good. But Blake disagrees. Loudermilch, or should I say Louderbitch, tells him to go home so he can be alone with Jessica. What a freak. Jessica pleads with Blake to stay, but Louderbitch forces him out. As Blake goes to leave, he hears Jessica screaming for help as Loudermilch chases her. When Blake opens the door, he finds Jessica's lifeless body with her neck absolutely snapped. It turns out she did not hang herself, but Father Loudermilch killed her and made it look like a suicide to cover all of his tracks. That is who the monster is when we transition back to the school, is Father Loudermilch. Now let's have a background on Father Loudermilch's lore. Father Loudermilch is a character who plays a twisted and sinister role in the story of Outlast 2. He's a priest at the school that Blake, Jessica and Lynn all attended. And from the moment we met him, it's clear that he's no ordinary man of the cloth. He's a sick, demented freak with a power complex. Instead of guiding the lost, he abuses his authority for personal gain, using his position as a means to control and torment those under his influence. Loudermilch is best known for his involvement in Jessica's tragic death. He corners her in a quiet room, accuses her of being a sinner, and ultimately kills her by snapping her neck. The brutal part, he makes it look like a suicide, setting it up at the scene to deceive anyone who might find her. This sickening act is not only to silence Jessica, but also cover his own twisted tracks. Awkward Loudermilch threatens Blake to keep quiet, positioning himself as a powerful figure who can manipulate others with fear and authority. His role in the narrative showcases the perverse corruption within the religious institutions portrayed in the game. Rather than embodying the faith and compassion one might expect from the priest, Loudermilch is an example of how power can be abused, twisted into something dark. He's the kind of character who thrives on control, manipulation, and cruelty, making him one of the most loathsome figures in Outlast 2. In essence though, Loudermilch is more than just a creepy priest. He represents the toxic misuse of religious authority, and his actions serve as a catalyst for much more of the trauma Blake endures throughout his life. He's a vile, predatory figure whose actions leave a deep scar and narrative on Blake's psyche. Blake wakes up to find the cultists absolutely assassinating the heretics, taking them out. We find Lynn near the exit, and surprise, surprise, she is actually pregnant. Possibly from the train that got run on earlier, but that was only hours prior. It makes no sense. Blake is understandably confused, but he supports her and the baby, keeping them safe. Lynn tries to tell Blake that it's his child, but Blake, we know he's an absolute loser, reminds her they haven't had sex in months. Not even his wife would sleep with him. Classic Blake, man. Like, dude, he's a loser. His wife doesn't even like him, man. Come on. I hate him. He's probably the worst character in horror game history. Chat, I got a question. Do you reckon he can fuck a baby out of a woman? Whoops. I didn't mean to drop you there, Lynn. Is it my baby? I'm not sure. Blake feels bad, so he jumps in to help her up. And out of nowhere, Mama Marta comes out of nowhere, chases us up the top of the building, cornering us once again. Just as she's about to kill Blake, lightning strikes and impales her with her own weapon. Karma is a bitch. Marta, now it's time for some payback. I'm gonna enjoy this one. Yeah, clap them cheeks, baby. Marta, come here, baby. Look away, chat. Look away. Finally, inside the church, Lynn gives birth in a horrific scene, but something's off. She bleeds to death as Blake holds the baby. You can see there's nothing there. It's just a delusion and a figment of Blake's tortured mind. Lynn even told him before she died that there was nothing there. Entering Papa North, the big, bad fatty, who tells Blake to gotta stomp the F out of the baby. Just drop kick it through the back door and then punt it like a football through the big sticks. F them kids, he says. But as he speaks, he slits his 20 to 50 chins. The man is larger than life as it is. He already had enough on his plate, so just 50 chins gone, and he meets his demise. As Blake leaves the church, the town is littered with dead bodies, victims of cyanide poisoning, a mass suicide orchestrated by North. The sun shakes, the earth trembles, and Blake is blinded by the blast that seems to blow him up. Could this be the end of Blake as we know it? Is this the end of him? The game transitions one last time to the school. We hear Jessica's voice calling out his name. I'll never let you go, she says. As the game concludes, Blake and Jessica share a prayer. And the nightmare, finally, seems to be over. Ending thoughts on the game. Out of Outlast 1, Whistleblower, and Outlast 2, Outlast 2 was my least favorite, only because I have so many horrific nightmares from trying to get the Energizer and then trying to do it without a camera, and it took me 3 months, and it was such a pain. You could probably go watch the old streams on YouTube, but overall, with Blake being such a disappointment, man, like he literally ruined the game. He has no stamina, no personality. He's just, I just don't know what is about him. His wife doesn't even like him. I don't know. I would give him big ups for going back and getting his wife, because most men, most people in that fact, wouldn't go back for their significant other. I would, because if I had a significant other, I would love them and I would go back and put my life on the line for them, because, you know, you love them. They're part of your life. They're basically your best friend and everything. But in saying that, before we get to the kills, should I do the comics or should I do Outlast Trials next? You guys tell me in the comments section down below. If the video hits 100 likes, the next video will be out instantly. In Outlast 2, there was a total of 41 kills, 40 humans and 1 animal. The kills consisted of 22 men, 11 women, and 7 victims of unknown gender. For the enemy's kill counts, Father Loudermilch had 1 kill, Papa North, aka Sullivan, had 2, Mama Marta had 2 kills, and then Val had a whopping 7 kills to herself. That is the kill count for Outlast 2. There was not as many as Outlast 1. Outlast 1 had a lot more, but at the end of the day, Outlast 2 is not really that good of a game compared to the first one. I didn't like Outlast 2, and hopefully this is the last time I have to do it. But as I said, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, smash it, hit that subscribe button. Tell me in the comment section down below if I should do the comics or should I do Outlast Trials next or any other game. Thank you guys for watching today's video. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.